Good morning, everyone. This is Joe, Vivian, and Kerry. We are starting our morning minute. We're headed off to work this morning. Want to share something. So we were jotting down notes and sort of talking about some stuff and talking about some basic things to help strengthen your marriage. Obviously, there isn't a magic pill. There isn't some chant or mantra. At first, like you always hear us, it starts with Christ first, placing Christ first in your marriage. But we want to share some things that might strengthen your marriage a bit. So what's the very first one, Kerry, that we have so I can drive?
Ask open-ended questions.
Ask open-ended questions. What do you mean by that? I'm asking you an open-ended question.
Ask questions that not just that can simply be a yes or no. For us under communicators, me, if you ask me a question that's a yes no, then I'm going to give you a yes no. So open-ended questions, you're going to delve a little bit more into details.
And that's something that we teach in our communication conference. We have the six key questions that you should be asking every week that are open-ended. How can I serve you? How have I loved you? How can I grow closer? And so those are ones that require an answer. But also realize when you're asking open-ended questions, timing is everything. It's not what you say, it's how you say it, it's when you say it, and it's why you say it. If I want to have, so biggest fault right there, we can just talk about that. I'm a morning person, wide awake, right away. Kerry's not. In fact, she's just now waking up right now.
A little bit.
And so I can't expect a deep conversation. I've got to let her wake up.
He used to. I'd
What?
wake up within 10 minutes and he'd be like, so what do you think about, or this verse spoke to me, how does it speak to you? And I would just stare at him.
And I'd always ask her, are you mad? Why aren't you talking to me?
That's
I
the
know,
worst.
I know. So work on it. Open-ended question. What's the next one, Kerry, that we've got?
Go on date nights.
Date nights. We're big advocates on date nights, and I know that many couples, especially when you have your first child, are like, date nights? That's the last thing we can do. You're exhausted and you're tired. However, that is so crucial to be going on date nights.
Yes.
I thought you were going to say something. Oh.
And they can be super simple. They can be, one of my favorites is we went to the park and I had a sketch pad for both of us and we just sketched we have beautiful mountains in Albuquerque and we just sketched the mountains. We've spent so many years together in the shadow of those mountains, and it was super cool just to take time. So they don't have to be expensive.
It can be very simple. One thing that Kerry and I did when the girls were young, and it really helped out, was we would alternate. Twice a month we agreed that we were going to go on date nights. And again, there's no money to it. It's not like fancy dinner and stuff. It's just spending time together and reconnecting. And so she would plan, we put it on the calendar, and Kerry would plan one of those date nights. I would plan the other one. So at least twice a month we had date nights. And sometimes your date nights are at home after the kids go to bed. You turn off the TV, put down the phones, and you just play a board game or something like that. So date nights are huge. What's the third one?
Choose to love even when you don't feel like it.
This is definitely Kerry. That's one of the things that we always talk about is love is a choice.
Absolutely.
It's not a feeling. It's not a warm fuzzy. Love is a choice.
Everyday choice.
It's an
sometimes
everyday.
a minutely choice, but it is a choice.
This is what I'm talking about. That's why I said it's definitely her. It's always going. And so it's these nonstop choices that you make and you go through. One of the things that we've done when we get up in the morning before our feet hit the floor, Kerry introduced us to our marriage, and we both do it, but we ask God, how can I worship you today by the way I love on my spouse? Because it is a form of worship. Again, Christ first. I'm going to love Kerry. The way I love Kerry is by the way I worship God first. And so that's something to keep in mind, you guys, of be intentional. Choose to love even the unlovable, because it is a choice.
Hey, what are you saying?
Sorry. Anyways, we'll talk about that later. That's an open-ended question. And so what would you say is the next question, or the last one?
Make honesty your best policy.
Honesty, your best policy. And that is, you guys, that kind of sums it up. I don't think there needs to be much description on that, but your relationship should be so transparent, so open. And it takes time. We say that we talk about it in our marriage conferences, marriage retreats, to be that picture of Genesis 2:25, naked and not ashamed, or transparent and not ashamed, and there's nothing wrong with it in the marriage, but that takes sometimes 12 to 17 years. But don't have secrets. Please don't have secrets. Because if you're not willing for your spouse to know everything, let's do this test, write this. If you're not willing to hand over your phone, unlock everything, and let your spouse go through the pictures, go through your text messages, your emails, then you guys need to sit down and discuss things.
Now, we share the same password.
Yeah, I was going to say, our passwords are the same. We can get into anything. We share email accounts. We share social media accounts. Everything is shared because that's who we are. We want to be, and remember, Scripture says you're to be one flesh, one mind, one body, one spirit. One.
And it's not that we don't trust each other. It actually does the opposite. It builds trust with each other. So it's not a negative thing. It's a constant building up of trust. We want a lot of trust in that account.
So that's important, you guys. So going over the 4 things, we just parked, so don't worry that I'm like, so strengthen your marriage, we went over this. Ask open-ended questions. Go on date nights. Choose to love even when you don't feel like it. And then make honesty your best policy. And those are good ways to help start strengthening your marriage. Maybe take one of those at a time. You guys, as a husband and wife, sit down and say, okay, which one of these 4 do we want to tackle today? Or this week? Or this month? I don't know. And you start going there. And just praying. And again, remember, always, Christ first, then your spouse, then your family. You can't, that's where it goes. Christ first, spouse, and family. Anything else?
No.
Okay. You guys have a blessed day. We love you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.